Why? Why am I living in 60 square feet? That's the magic question. So many people ask me, how are you doing this? Why are you doing this? I'm going to share it with you today because today, well, this month, actually, June 2025, I'm celebrating 3 years of living this way. Would I change it? I'm not gonna lie, a bigger rig would be nice, but actually it's helped me get to a lot of places I couldn't go otherwise. So Flynn and I live microscopically, is the way I like to call it. We live in like 60 square feet, tiny camper that's pulled by my SUV, and we have a lot to celebrate. We have seen a lot. We've met a lot of wonderful people, a lot of wonderful dogs. Life is good. Easy? No. I'm not going to act like I, have all these gorgeous views all the time. You can see what I'm looking at right now. This is better than me sitting in my camper and showing that to you. So no, I don't have any like gorgeous views of, wearing a bikini and looking out my van windows or whatever. But this life is good, and it's been good for me and Flynn, actually. Quite the life for the dog. Let me take you way, way back to when I was just a little kid. And I don't know if my parents got a refrigerator or a neighbor or something, but we had a big refrigerator box, back when they used to come in the big boxes. Now I see them never deliver that. But we had the big box, and I wanted to run away. I said, I want to run away. So my parents said, okay, here's the box. My neighborhood kids, like all my buddies and some not buddies, came over and decorated it and wished me a bon voyage. And so I was happy as a clam in that little box, probably until I got hungry, right? No kitchen in that thing. I didn't know how to cook. I was like 6 or 7 or maybe younger, actually. So I think what I was actually trying to say as a kid was that not that I wanted to run away, but that I wanted to run free. I wanted to see things, do things, get out and about. So fast forward a bunch of decades. And so what happened was that I lived through the pandemic like we all did. Now, just before the pandemic, I had found my birth parents and birth siblings, half siblings technically, and then the pandemic hit. And so I couldn't visit anybody. I was used to visiting my family that I grew up with, my adoptive family in Colorado, like every summer. I couldn't do that. I couldn't see the people that I had just met and that I wanted to get to know better. And I was not a happy woman. So I started to look into different ways of living to cut my costs, checked into tiny houses. And then the hard part in Florida is trying to find land that lets you do that. I then looked into, okay, if I live on the road, can I have a huge pickup truck and pull that tiny house behind me? There's some people on YouTube that do that. I looked into school buses, converting one of those. I looked into those tourist buses, the limo kind of buses things. I looked into, what else did we look into, buddy? Oh, van. I rented a U-Haul van, and Flynn and I lived out of that, camped out of that for 2 nights. I checked into everything I could think of, every single format, if you will. And I even looked at, of course, having a tiny house and putting on land. But when I realized just how formidable that was and how hard they made it, that's when I started to look at, what if I live on the road? And that's what we've been doing. The way that we do it's not ideal because it is really tiny, but it works for us. There's just Flynn and I. There's just the 2 of us. So why do I choose to live this way? This way I can see family. I can go place to place, state to state, and see family. Most of my family at least has a side yard that I can park in. Sometimes they don't, and so then we figure other things out, like, parks or somewhere where I could stay nearby. But like my sister in Colorado, she has 5 acres, she and her husband. I can stay there. Last year I stayed way longer than I thought. Thank you, Kate and Steve. Stayed in 4 months, but it was worth it because I was helping take care of our parents. And that was a blessing for sure. And then this year, let's see. So then often I live in Arizona, and that's every winter so far for the last 3 winters. I did not mean for that to happen, but sometimes it happens. So I get to live where it's warm and sunny most of the time. I get to travel when it's good weather to beautiful states when they have good weather anyways. Like, I'm not a fan of Colorado or anywhere else that's cold in the winter, but in the summer it is a gorgeous place to be. So that's a big part of it right there. I get to choose how I live, where I live, who I see, and It's kind of hard to beat. Who can do that? So I have been to their homes at least once, right? If not multiple times, most of those folks multiple times. And so I get to spend time with them, make memories, just be a part of their life for a while instead of just going to visit for a week or something like that. Now, maybe they want me to just visit for a week, but the nice part is if that's the case, then I can do that too. Or just like a long weekend like I did with my brother who lives near Nashville. And then I can move on and I can go find other places to stay. So that has been the biggest thing to me. When you die, you're not going to be able to take your SUV. You're not going to be able to take your camper, but you will take your memories with you. And that to me is a big deal. After going through the pandemic and not seeing anybody and just seeing how quickly life goes, because a lot of people lost people, right? And I almost lost people. I had a couple of family members go in the hospital. So, and my sister was told that if she had not showed up that day in the hospital, she would have been gone the next day. That's how bad she was. And she was stuck in the hospital for a long time. Her lungs had to recover. So that and this is why I do this. This is the reason. Another thing to note is that I wanted to do this for years. I watched different people, like cheap RV living. We know that's, a lot of us know that. People living simply. And I always thought they were nuts. How do you live in a car? How do you live in a tiny camper, like, converted cargo trailer like mine? I just thought I could never do that. And then I started to think, as I looked into all the different ways of living a unique lifestyle that would give me the funds you need to travel and the freedom to travel too, I started to realize that really it's a mindset. If you want to do this, you will figure out that you can live in a tiny van or tiny camper. I know other people that have bigger rigs and it's, and they're able to do it, which is great, but financially it's not easy. You've got to have the money for the gas or the diesel or whatever you're driving. So, and I know people that don't want to have to haul that around. So they end up, just living in a couple different areas, which that's fine too. You have to figure out what do you want, right? And then you have to figure out how to make it happen. So for me to make it happen was to use what I already had, and that's my SUV, and then to get a camper that it could pull. I actually had a camper that I loved, and I had a guy convert it for me. It was a 7x14 tandem axle, so it's safer with all those different wheels on there, the 4 wheels, 2 on each side, but it became too heavy, and when I started to pull it with this SUV, it was scary to me. Now, people tell me I could have got the anti-sway bars and all that. Yeah, maybe I could have, but I wanted something that I had full confidence in. And I never felt like that would be it. I felt like it's just too much weight for this SUV. They'll claim that these SUVs can pull 5,000 or 5,500, whatever it is. No, cut it in half. I'm just going to tell you that from the get-go. Don't believe them. Don't believe the salespeople. If you want to pull something bigger, just get yourself a truck. Yeah, they're not cheap, but that's what's going to help you. So I did this because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do this lifestyle. I wanted to prove to myself that I could make my dreams come true. I had a life where I was not able to do that for a long time. And so to be able to prove to myself that I was strong enough, smart enough, I could save the money, I could figure out the finances, all of that was a big deal to me. And so maybe you understand that. So I worked hard, I saved money, I kept putting it away. And I actually didn't mean to start the lifestyle as quickly as I did. I went to visit my birth mom, who's up in Washington, where I am right now, visiting her. And what changed my life and why I decided to suddenly quit my very steady, safe job with the state of Florida, with that, the insurance and everything, her health was not good. She was having a rough time. And so I thought, I am not going to miss out any more time with her. I'm not going to miss out any more time with anybody that I want to be with. So that's when I resigned my position. So it kind of was, the only reason I was able to do it was because I had savings. I had been preparing myself, thinking about it. When I left work, I had even thought that, what if I don't come back? So I really packed up a lot of stuff, and but I didn't think I was going to do it. I actually thought I was going to head back home. Long drive from Washington State to Florida. I mean, you cannot get any farther away in the continental U.S., right? So yeah, that's what happened. I had to prove it to myself. So how do I live this way? Like I told you before, I checked into every different kind of setup I could think of, from ambulances to school buses and everything in between. And so that, like I said before too, the only way I could figure out to do it was to use what I already had. Now I actually got this SUV to pull a 2008, I think it was, Tab trailer. I'll put a picture of that in, so you can see what that looks like. And that was super lightweight. That was great. So even with water, because it only could hold like 5 gallons of water in the sink, that was like 2,000 pounds. And that I would forget it was back behind me. And I took that all the way to Colorado to see family and back. So I knew what I was comfortable with. And that's another point for you too. Try different rigs, see if you can borrow somebody's, rent somebody's. It is not cheap to rent these things like the RVs and stuff, but I still say it's cheaper than making a mistake. So that's what I would advise you to do. Definitely save your money. Okay, and so how do I actually travel this way, right? I work online. I am not in the career that my master's degree is in, so I'm not in education, but I do work that I enjoy and that I get paid well for. I have other dreams and other things I'm working on too, so that keeps you going as well. So I work online, and you would have to figure that out. I'd advise you do it ahead of time. I don't advise you doing what I did and resigning your position and then trying to figure it out. Ideally, you're working at least part-time online or something. Have something going. And again, savings. Can't emphasize that enough. That's what saved my bacon, to tell you the truth. So then what I do is I use different apps and things where I can boondock for free. Like in Arizona, I stay there for 4 or 5 months for free. Then I do stay on family property, like I told you, so that's free. Sometimes I give them money for electric if I'm there for a while to help out too. Or like if they won't take it, I'll give them gift cards. So you don't want to burn those bridges. It's your family, yeah, but you don't want to take advantage of them. And then what I also do is like the different apps. Like I said, there's different camping sites that they're free. Like, was it free camping sites? Oh no, I'll look it up. I'll put it down below. I know other people have talked about it too. And I do have like the Harvest Host membership. So that will cost you money if you stay at, like a company, like a winery or something like that. But still cheaper than a lot of the other places. Sometimes you'll find campsites that are pretty cheap, different ways, like on county websites and things like that too. So basically you have to keep it simple, and you have to really figure out, how do you like to camp? How do you like to travel? Do you like to move around a lot? Well, that gets expensive, right? Because you need gas or diesel on a regular basis. If you can stay put for a while and find a good place, or with family or something like that, that'll save you money. And you also kind of feel like you can, get to know the area better too. Like staying in Washington, I'll be able to see different places, and I'll be going somewhere next week. I'm going to video that for you guys to show you how I travel with Flynn and how I make that all work too, and find good dog-friendly places. But it's important to know how you travel, and you might not figure that out for a while. I do get restless when I stay for 4 or 5 months in Arizona, so then I try to take day trips, and you'll see that I have that on the channel too. And I just try to keep busy with different things, whether it's training Flynn or just, trying to meet people, get out and about. You do have to run errands, so that'll get you out a little bit too. But I do get restless, so I'll hop down to like Yuma area and go see Mexico. Yeah, Lake Havasu, that's pretty. I've got a video on that, I believe. So you have to just be patient with yourself and figure it out. And if you can't afford a lot, plan to stop a bunch and stay put. There are different things like staying in Cracker Barrel, parking lots, Walmart, stuff like that. They're always loud though, between the trucks or the trucks going by on like the highways and stuff, just to warn you. But there are rest areas in each state where you can like get a nap if you need it. Some of them will let you stay overnight. A lot don't seem to. It just depends on where you are. But this is how I do it. This is how I keep it affordable and enjoyable for me. And then to see family is, like I said, it's a gift that you can't believe. And then friends too. I have friends now that I've made through my travels, and a bunch are asking me to come back, like back east. I have friends, Virginia, I have a friend there. I have friends I met through some of these different apps in Tennessee that I would love to see them again. So your world goes from, like, in my condo where I used to rent, it was a 1-bedroom small. It was on the 2nd and 3rd floor. my world was pretty small. I was friendly with some of the neighbors and we watched out for each other, which is really great. That was the first time I ever had that with anybody, and any of the rentals that I had for like 11 years. But what I find is as you travel, you get to know people, especially if you stay on their land or something like that. And so you get to know people, and I feel much more connected to people in the United States, my own people, if you will, my own family, and then the friends that I've made. I have friends in, I don't want to say every state, but in a lot of states. If you're courteous and respectful, it will take you miles ahead, right? And so then you have people that want you to come back and visit, and you want to go back and visit because you learn just as much from them as they learn from you. You know, it's kind of like the old like Pony Express kind of idea, right? If you stopped at different places, you could share the news as you go, right? So I kind of do that for people as I stop in different places, but then they share their news about their life, things that they're doing. And it's, I don't know, it's a very full life. I do not feel alone. I will put the video about how I'm a single solo female and the mindset that I have with that. And so that's kind of a different video, right? It's talking about the mindset of being single, and that's a great thing. But I cannot emphasize enough how much I am glad I'm doing this. It has changed my life for the better. I'm not really prone to depression and stuff. Pretty much I'm upbeat, but it was very lonely sometimes, and I felt very single when I was living in my little condo. But now that I've gotten out and met people, I cannot believe how much richer my life has become. Again, not financially. It is not cheap living this way. They'll tell you you can save money. The only way you save money is if you stay put and you live tiny. That's honestly it. That's the only way. But if you want to keep moving around and seeing different people and places, that adds up. So that's why I try to do a mixture. I'll try to like stay put, and then like, you know, I came up from Arizona to here to Washington. That was some expenses, but I had saved for it. I was ready for it. And then I'm staying put, saving a lot of money now too. So what have I gained overall? Self-confidence like you wouldn't believe. I have control over my life. That feels very powerful. You know, that's empowering for sure. Now, do I believe I'm God and I got all the control and everything? No. I am grateful to God for helping me out with this lifestyle and figuring things out and finding the right people. There's been sometimes I really needed other people's help, and they just showed up. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't know about you. That's a hard word. That's why I usually say quinky dinks, but that's an annoying word. So anyways, you get the idea. This literally has been a spiritual journey for me. I have a renewed faith like I've never had before. Between seeing the beauty that God has created, seeing the good people in the United States. Because if you watch the news, I can't say this enough, you'll hear me say it, preach it all the time. You watch the news and you think everybody hates you and everybody's out to hurt each other. And that's not the case. I've met people on the far left and moderate, people on the far right. I've met people of all different backgrounds. And basically, most people are just kind and we want to get along. And I can't say that enough. So my faith has been restored in God, in myself, in other people. That's huge. That's a big deal right there. That alone is just invaluable. There's no price tag on that. Of course, like I said, the biggest part is the memories I've created of places I've been, places I've gone with Flynn. Someday I'm going to lose him. I have all these videos and photographs of him being cute in front of different sunsets and lakes and all sorts of things. I'm going to share that with you too. But the memories I've created with loved ones, I already lost my birth dad. I'm so glad I saw him as much as I did. Was it enough? No, it was not enough at all. But I am grateful for the time I had with him. And so as people age and I lose folks, or just you lose folks with time, as I age, whatever happens, I have these memories and I will treasure them forever. So now I'm celebrating 3 years, right? So are you wondering why on earth I stick with this? Because it's not easy. You have to get your own water. You have to do all these things that we just take for granted in regular life. And you have to keep moving too. You can't stay in a lot of places for too long. So why do I stick with it? I stick with it because I have a peace and happiness I've never had before. Anywhere I lived, I've lived in a huge house on over 100 acres with a bunch of cars and a big barn and all sorts of things, right? All the way to living as small as I could in a 1-bedroom, trying to live simply that way too. I lived a mile from the beach in Florida. It was gorgeous. Flynn and I love the beach still. We miss it. But would I trade this life? I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. The peace and happiness that I have, the faith that I have, the relationship I feel that I have with God, I've never had this before. It just simplifies everything. And when you live a more complicated life, it complicates everything. I think it complicates your faith, your thoughts, everything. But when you get out and you are sitting in the middle of the desert, there's nobody around, you really have to focus on yourself. And then, you know, if you have a relationship with God, you focus on that, or spiritual journey or whatever you have. Man, that helps a lot. Helps a lot. And just evening out your emotions and everything just becomes easier. And it just becomes, you're just more at peace. You really can't beat it. So would I do this again? Yes. Am I going to continue? For now, I am. I think someday I might want to put down some roots, at least for part of the year. But I can't imagine that I'm ever going to want to stay put 24/7, 365 in the same plot of land, no matter what I get. Even if I get the most gorgeous land, I still think I'm going to want to get out and see things. So I hope you'll celebrate with me. I'm going to share with you now a bunch of beautiful things that we've seen, both in pictures and in video. And yeah, I just can't tell you how grateful I am for this lifestyle. I have a song that I'm going to share with you that came up with, and I think it describes Flynn and my life together so well. And if you're envious, don't be. You can do this too. If you need help, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you're interested in any help or information. And if you're doing this lifestyle, I'd love to have you share why you love it as well, and what you don't love too. There's some not easy parts, right? The whole bathroom part, the water part, it's not fun. So yeah, thank you for being here. Enjoy.
Got my backpack and my dog by my side. We're chasing sunsets where the wild winds ride. No map to follow, just the open road. Our hearts are light with no heavy load. We're two explorers in a world so wide. Me and my pup with the stars as our guide. Every step's a story, every mile's a tale. Wanderlust and wagon tails will never fail. From mountain peaks to the ocean blue, everywhere we go feels fresh and new. My dog's my compass with his nose so keen. Together we're living the ultimate dream. We're two explorers in a world so wide. Me and my pup with the stars as our guide. Every step's a story, every mile's a tale. Wanderlust and wagon tails will never fail. The world can be big, but we're never alone. With four paws beside me, it feels like home. No need for others, we got our crew. The bond we share is forever true. We're two explorers in a world so wide. Me and my pup with the stars as our guide. Every step's a story, every mile's a tale. Wanderlust and wagon tails